The courage to face your Goliath. Lessons from David's victory. Hey, my friends, welcome. Let me begin with a simple question. What challenges are you carrying in your life right now? Maybe it's a struggle with your health, your finances, or a relationship. Maybe it's a dream that feels too far out of reach. Whatever it is, we've all faced or are currently facing a giant, a problem that feels too big to overcome. The story of David and Goliath is one of the most inspiring in the Bible. I love it, and I wanted to do it for you today because it speaks directly to these moments. It's not just a story about a shepherd defeating a warrior. It's a reminder that even when life feels overwhelming, we are never alone. We have everything we need to succeed when we walk with faith and trust in God. Let's dive into this story and discover how we can face our giants with the same courage that David showed. Now, the setting is the Valley of Elah, where the Israelite and Philistine armies are locked in a standoff. The Philistine champion, Goliath, steps forward daily to taunt the Israelites. Goliath isn't just tall, he's enormous. A towering figure clad in heavy armor and carrying weapons that dwarf anything the Israelites have. For 40 days, he challenges them to send a warrior to fight him. But no one dares. Enter David, a young shepherd sent by his father to bring food to his brothers. David isn't there as a soldier. He's there as a servant. Yet when he hears Goliath's taunts, something ignites within him. While everyone else is seeing a giant that's too big to defeat, David sees a giant that's too big to miss. Now, David teaches us something profound in this moment. Giants don't always look like warriors on a battlefield. Sometimes they look like financial stress, a health crisis, or a voice of self-doubt that tells you you're not enough. Just like the Israelites froze in fear before Goliath, we can find ourselves stuck, convinced we're powerless. David's story shows us that it's not the size of the giant that matters. It's the size of your faith. You're not defined by the challenges you face, but by the God who stands with you. And when David offers to fight Goliath, King Saul doubts him. He says, "You're only a boy." But David doesn't back down. He recalls how God helped him defeat lions and bears while protecting his sheep. His confidence doesn't come from his own strength, but from his trust in God's faithfulness. David's faith gives him clarity. When others see an unbeatable army, he sees an opportunity for God to display his power. This perspective changes everything. So think about that. Look back at your life. What lions and bears have you already overcome? Maybe it was a time when you didn't know how you'd make it through, but you did. Remember those victories. If God brought you through them, he can do it again. So when Saul offers David his armor, David tries it on, but quickly realizes that it doesn't fit. He chooses to rely on what he knows, his sling and 5 smooth stones. While it might seem foolish to face a giant with a simple sling, David knows that God doesn't require fancy tools. He uses what we already have. Now, think about this. How often do we try to solve our problems by copying what works for others instead of trusting in the gifts God has given us? David reminds us that we don't need to be anyone else to succeed. What God has placed in your hands, your skills, your experiences, and your talents is enough. So stop comparing yourself to others. Your sling and stones are all you need. Trust that God will guide you to victory using the tools He has already given you. As David steps onto the battlefield, Goliath mocks him, but David's response is unforgettable. He says, "You come against me with a sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel." And with one shot, David's stone strikes Goliath in the forehead, and the giant falls. The entire Philistine army flees in fear. And David's victory wasn't about his physical ability. It was about his faith. He declared God's power, acted boldly, and trusted the outcome to God. So when you face your giants, speak the truth to your fear. Declare God's promises over your life. Remind yourself that you're not fighting alone. God is with you, and His power, His power is greater than any obstacle. So the Israelites thought Goliath was invincible, but David saw him as an opportunity for God to show His glory. How often do we look at our problems and think, this is too big? David's story reminds us that nothing is too big for God. Faith doesn't ignore reality. It transforms it. It allows us to see our challenges through the lens of God's power, not our own limitations. So, as we close today, I want to ask you, what giants are you facing today? Maybe it's a difficult decision, a relationship that feels broken beyond repair, or a goal that just seems out of reach. Whatever it is, remember this. Like David, you're not fighting alone. The same God who helped David defeat Goliath is with you now, ready to fight your battles. So take time this week to identify your giants, and then remember these key lessons. First, we recognize our giant. We don't ignore it, but we don't let it paralyze us. Look back at past victories and draw strength from how God has helped you before. Use what God has given you. Your unique gifts are more than enough. And speak boldly. Declare your faith. Trust God and step onto the battlefield. Because David's victory wasn't just about defeating a giant. It was about showing the world that God is greater than any obstacle. Your victory can do the same. So as you leave here today, you are capable of facing your Goliaths because God is with you. Go forward with faith, courage, and confidence, knowing that the giants in your life are no match for the power of your God. Thank you, friends. Before we leave today, let's have a prayer for the intimate things that you hold in your heart, okay? I'll lead. You ready? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Amen. That's beautiful, isn't it? You know what else is beautiful? The fact that you're here with me today. I want to thank you for joining me on this story. It's one of my favorites. I think it has one of the most valuable lessons that we can learn, and I was glad to share it with you today. I hope it meant something to you. I can't wait till tomorrow. We're going to be back talking about more fun stuff, learning lessons, and having great conversation. I'm looking forward to it. But for the most part, I'm looking forward to seeing you. So I hope you're here with me. I'll talk to you then. Friends, don't forget, hug your family. They love you. Talk to you tomorrow. Take care.